anything that brings you out of center and grounded, we are going to call ego programming.
Culture is a mass hallucination.
Who I thought I was must die for who I am to be.
What the freak is up, dude? We are back at it like a fucking crack addict for the Fourth Wall Podcast. Boy Slim Geek Rockefeller, man Zootenheimer. Let Zoot introduce today's guest, but we were just fucking talking about the septic tank man. What y'all know about the dude that gets in the latex suit and pays people to hop in the septic tank?
So
I heard he died, bro.
When we
I heard he fucking died.
When we prepare for our guests, we have a quick little back and forth usually in our chats, and in order to introduce our next guest, I think the best way I could do it is to just read a brief excerpt. So bear with me as I dive in here. We are an anti-entropic vessel that uses any means necessary to retain a functional form. Every cell in our body is transient. It's ever becoming for the sole purpose of staying the same. But we are not our body, at least I don't think so. And psychoactive drugs could be an example of an internal desire to transform an arrogant, ignorant, and every now and then brilliant urge to take the scalpel to homeostasis. Because the forces of life enforcing our life forms occasionally warrant a need for change that humans refuse to wait for the snail's pace of epigenetics to resolve. And as a result of medicine, we have increased our lifespans while also having to work far more than ever before to resolve the completely alien issues we have created in the process of doing so. And because of an evident will to self-optimize either in our lifetimes or lifetimes to come that often disregards homeostatic forces, I would be led to believe that life is only semi-deterministic. Allow me to introduce a real-ass psychonaut, crossbreeder of memes, prospector of gassy gemeralds, my dear friend Sebby. Welcome to the Fourth Wall Podcast.
Hello.
So yeah, man,
Up, Sebby.
dropped some fucking serious knowledge there. What was what was the impetus for what made you think of that there?
I wrote that while I was on ketamine, and I guess I was kind of thinking about how, short-term memory could be a luxury of the Homo sapien, and I was thinking about how, when you enter these states on ketamine, where your short-term memory is severely impaired, it almost felt like a ghost of autonomic nervous systems that were in our ancestors before us.
Yeah,
and it just got me thinking. Of course, it doesn't completely summarize where my mind was in
and
that,
it's very rare, I feel like, that we are ever able to capture where our mind is when that kind of stuff is going on. But I think you did like a beautifully succinct job there that I thought was like the perfect way to introduce you to the show today, because we've had quite a few conversations that have led us to kind of similar endings there. And so you're like I know you've done like a lot of dissociatives in the past. I think like probably you got into ketamine in the last like year or two here, but do you want to talk a little bit about your relationship with dissociatives? I think because I think that would probably maybe give people a bit of a background to that.
Yeah. Well, I would say that
yeah.
You like to get wet, bro?
when I was 11 years old, I suppose what I would do all day, I never had the internet, but I would spend all day reading the dictionary. And I came across the dictionary definition for ketamine, and I saw that it was, a dissociative anesthetic that could produce out-of-body experiences, and that, really jumped out at me. And at 11 years old, I wanted to know everything about ketamine, and I came to the conclusion that the closest thing I could get to it at home was the good old Robitussin, which I would go on to try for the first time at the first year at 11 years old. So I guess that was my first experience with dissociatives.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
Fuck yeah. Oh man,
Uh,
I used to be an
I have
avid
tried a
Euro
few
tripper.
other dissociatives in my life. Ketamine, you kind of being a contributing factor for me finally deciding to try it. Because like I had had some sitting around for the longest time and I was hesitant to try it. But I've also tried OPCE and 3-MAO PCP.
So yeah, I think you're probably one of the few people that have really dove into some of these like niche research, dissociative, or I would love if you have some time to talk about that for us, because you're probably a very unique in the case. So what were the two that you just mentioned?
OPCE and 3-MAO PCP. I haven't had as extensive experience with them as I have ketamine and DXM, but some nonetheless. And I guess another dissociative, a pretty novel one that I've yet to try, but I do, have is memantine. But I've also
Mantine,
been
dude.
using.
We have a lot in common, dude. Holy shit.
I know. I knew this was gonna
Yeah, I
fucking
mean,
cook today. I'm excited.
Mantine over here.
currently actually on a chemical that's similar to structure to memantine called bromantane, but its mechanism of action is very much different. It's not a dissociative, but it works by upregulating something called tyrosine hydroxylase, which is the limiting, enzymatic factor for creating endogenous dopamine in the brain.
Mm.
And it's not a traditional stimulant in that it, releases and depletes dopamine, but, using amphetamine, which I am an amphetamine user, have been for a few years or many years now, it downregulates that enzyme itself, tyrosine hydroxylase. So I can kind of restore some, damage, I guess you could say, from stimulant use, as well
Yeah.
as it also have properties that support mitochondrial function of cells in the brain. So it's an adaptogen. Yeah.
Beautiful, dude. Fucking beautiful. I got multiple questions for
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna let
Multiple
you cook.
directions. I want to talk about this. Yeah, bro. Fuck yeah. Mantine's interesting, dude. They use it for Alzheimer's and dementia patients.
And
Half-life's
Parkinson's.
like in Parkinson's. I wasn't aware of that. I'm sure you know
D2
the half-life's like fucking 24,
Yeah.
30, is like 50 hour. It's something obscene. If you fuck around too much with it, you can fall into a hole that lasts an entire day. I've never
Yeah.
done memantine, but it's something I've been seeing people online being like, I'm treating my autism with low dose memantine. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I've seen
no.
those. Yeah. Yeah.
Something called
I'm,
affinidine you might be interested in too if you like
did you
3-MeO.
say
And
diphenidine?
affinidine, EPHINIDINE, I believe.
I don't think I've heard
It's
of that one.
a research chemical dissociative. I've never done it, but it's
It's
out there.
I'm
The only
assuming it's
dissociative
related to diphenidine or the phenidine
the only ones I've
class.
done are ketamine. I've been lucky enough to been tapped in with someone down here in Atlanta that would separate racemic ketamine and have the R ketamine and S ketamine, and I can have both in separate sacks and like mix them at my own leisure or try each one separate. But ketamine, nitrous, I love mixing them together. DXM, which I want to talk about in a minute, the different plateaus, and then a lot of people like don't know about, which is called plateau sigma. Ends plateau 1 through 4 with DXM, and then 2-fluorodischloroketamine, 2-FDCK. I went through a period where I don't want to put her on blast, but someone I love deeply would go in Adobe and print out Spravato labels for me.
And you'd make your
ketamine
own
treatment.
spray
And
bottles.
2-FDCK is indistinguishable from ketamine, and I was getting it online in nasal spray bottles, and so we would then.
Well,
put
I think
Spravato
to the
labels on it.
the person with an advanced taste, they could probably distinguish it.
It could.
Yeah.
There were several Spravato patients who could no longer afford their Spravato treatments, and they were given this 2-FDCK at a
Yeah.
substantially cheaper price than their Spravato treatments, but definitely a
Yeah.
pretty big markup from what I was getting it for. And they came back being like, "Thank you so much, for helping us continue our Spravato
Well,
treatments."
honestly, shouts out to
We
those
really
Spravato
appreciate it.
patients though, because they're
couldn't
getting
tell a
fucked
difference.
because their dosage is so low on those sprays. They're not getting like hardly. They're getting like a 0.1, I
Yeah.
think, for like.
The 2-FDCK bottles had a half gram of it in there, and 2-FDCK is about 2 times as potent as ketamine, so it'd be
Yeah,
about a
they're
gram of
probably like
ketamine
those
in there.
Spravato guys are getting like 4 times their normal dose, probably.
Yeah, I was
Which
worried.
is,
I was like, these people are
good.
gonna call me good. My buddy I provided it all to my friend, and then my friend had the patients, right? And I was worried he was gonna come back like, bro, what the fuck? They were like, what is this? But they were all could not tell a difference. But excuse me, pardon me, bless me. I've got globus sensation lately in my throat that will not go away. It's like a feeling of like a fucking pill or food stuck in my throat, a constant feeling of needing to burp, and just a lump in my throat will not go away. It sucks. But
Globus sounds like a fucking like a fake
God
disease
damn.
that they would make up in Rick and Morty or something. Like,
Yeah.
you got Globus.
It's called
Morty, I got
globus
Globus.
sensation. But when I was getting my hands on 2-FDCK, I was getting fluoroxetamine for a while, FXE.
Oh,
which was
wow.
very interesting dissociative. Ethoxetamine, MXC. I never got to try it before it went extinct. That was around in like the early 2010s. That was regarded as the fucking holy grail of dissociatives. Everyone I've met that got on MXC said it was their favorite drug, hands down.
Has Zoot ever tried it?
No,
I feel like
did
he
you ever get your
die.
hands on MXC?
no,
Yeah, it would have been around during your time frame. I was
I've heard of it for
active
sure.
on the dark
yeah.
web in that time and doing lots of substances, but it was before I really got into dissos. So, Sebby, are you familiar with the plateaus of dextromethorphan hydrobromide?
Yes.
We got, plateau for the viewers out there. I'll give a quick rundown, and you can like add anything or fucking call me out if you disagree with what I'm saying here. But like plateau 1, I would say feels arguably like a low-level alcohol and cannabis high combined. I don't know the dosages right now off the top of my head any longer. It's been a while since I've done it, but that's your first plateau of a DXM. Plateau 2, there's some dissociative effects coming into play. You have that cross buzz type of feeling like you're on good cannabis and alcohol, but you're also beginning to feel some dissociative effects. Plateau 3 is when it gets probably similar, in my opinion, to ketamine experiences. You have that Alice syndrome where you're like extremely tiny and the room is giant, or you're filling
That's
up
my
the
favorite.
entire room, start getting visuals and some out of body stuff going. And then plateau 4, somewhere I never dared go. Would you want to describe it? It's like full total out of body, like the K-hole
The full
equivalent of
K-hole.
DXM. Now, there's something called plateau sigma, which I've heard referred to as, poor man's psychosis. Go and get it at the drugstore. But with plateau sigma, the idea is you dose enough to be on, let's say, second or third plateau, and then every couple of hours for like a day, you continue redosing second or third level plateau DXM doses. And what happens is, I think DXM gets converted into DXO in your liver when you're consuming it. But all the enzymes that are responsible for converting the DXM into DXO or processing the DXO, processing the DXM, whatever, they're all occupied and being used up. So there's this backlog of DXM in your system that doesn't process, and you enter something called plateau sigma, which is like this very strange, bizarre kind of like upper plateau DXM experience it's like a rolling high, kind of like a cannabis edible where it's like
I was looking for I had a picture from back in the day of a 7-gram ketamine rock that I was looking for. I thought that was,
hell yeah.
I wanted to show, but I couldn't find it. It's from like
You think
5
you
or 6
also
years
want
ago.
show me that video. I think it was like a woman in Hong Kong snorting like a really long line of ketamine across a
It
bar
was like
table
a
or
4
something.
meter line, like huge.
Or
Jesus.
That I sent it to you, right? I can't find it. I've looked since then, and it's like wiped off the internet. It's gone. That's an old
You're
video.
crazy with it, man.
Because but
either
the
on
Chinese, they had a
seeing
huge
it,
recreational scene because they're manufacturing it by the fucking literal boatloads there. Literal boatloads.
probably where all
That's
the
where
TFC
the Chinese
comes from,
triads
too,
bring
yeah.
it in. You know, they're a huge producer, or not producer, but trafficker of it here. And anyhow, the
Recently
DXM,
was
you were asking
hospitalized.
about the Sigma phase DXM.
Organ failure. Yeah, plateau sigma. You got me thinking about. Hey, there's an anecdote from that too. We can get back into the plateau sigma. I want to hear what you guys are thinking about it.
When I was
My
in,
buddy was hospitalized though recently for he was doing an ounce of ketamine every 2 days, and I witnessed it happen. I watched his tolerance. He was serving it. You know, he had a kind of an unlimited access and supply. But
that's
the
an
amount of K
insane
that would
amount.
last me 24 hours of spirituality and
How do you
wickedness,
even
this
get it
man's
in
putting
there with
down,
that? You know what I said? I was like, why aren't you just IMing it at that point?
banging it at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
Start
the
banging
fuck?
it like.
You have to.
He would constantly blow his nose out, and he had this trick he taught me. As you know, I'm surprised I never knew it, being someone that constantly would insufflate substances for years. But yeah, you pull your sinus back, and you can really get it up going there.
Well, the problem with the
Dude, yeah, he was
ketamine is
putting
that
blood.
it's
was
such an
gnarly.
abrasive crystalline structure. You develop serious scar tissue on in your nasal cavity, and like you just start when you're like when you're having soup in front of you or like anything warm, you're just dripping snot now because you have no porous.
It just
you're just like
yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, Sebby?
It's taxing on the body.
Oh, I was saying, did you get like a deviated septum from snorting ketamine?
I got a pretty. I got a. I think I got a very damaged septum where at one point I was like, all of a sudden out of nowhere I was like snoring like crazy. I couldn't fall asleep at night because I would get post nasal drip from my own like regular mucus. Thankfully that's kind of gone away since I haven't done that stuff in years now. So, but for a while, yeah,
My right nostril goes in like substantially with the finger, and if anything's snorted with my right nostril, it goes directly into also my left into my throat. Immediately.
Yeah, both of mine are
I
pretty
attribute
bad.
that to snorting
CB.
pills when I was younger and not knowing how to pull out the filler of Ambien. Zolpidem tartrate's very abrasive to the nose.
Ooh. Yeah, I snorted 2CB because I
didn't
know you weren't supposed to snort it,
I've heard that's the
worst. It's literally corrosive.
Painful.
The razor blade the next morning was like
like
corroded, like black and rusty, and I'm like, damn, I put that in my nose last night.
I boofed 2CB.
Hell yeah.
Didn't hurt very much, honestly. Not as much as snorting it would.
An ass of steel.
But I diluted it enough.
You know what's surprisingly one of the most painful things to snort? And a lot of people don't know you can snort this. You have to snort double the amount you would smoke to get the same breakthrough effect, but DMT.
No.
Swear to God, I promise you.
Cut it out.
You can snort DMT and it lasts. I mean, I've done it myself, and you can also research this information, find anecdotal
Holy
reports, and also
shit.
just like the science. I guess.
The reason I'll tell you why I'm so.
The amount you would smoke.
The reason I'm so reticent to believe that is because knowing Wooks, I feel like Wooks would have figured that out by now, and that would be the primary way they do it. I
don't think people like to do it just because it's not as intense as an insane blast off as smoking is, and it is
just the bioavailability sucks.
Yes, and you're wasting DMT as well. Not necessarily wasting it, but like 50 milligrams is a breakthrough dose vaporized. You'd have to snort 100 milligrams to get the same effect, but it also lasts about 45 minutes when snorted instead of the 10 to 15 when smoked.
DMT will tell you if you're wasting it too. I feel like that could be a contributing factor. The elves will tell you when you're wasting your shit.
Dude, they'll fucking reprimand you if you're not respecting it. I had some interesting experiences where I was kicked out of the fucking trip, dude. And
Yeah.
They were not happy with me back at, oh god.
So let's I feel like we should re-wrangle this back here to our guest because we kind of went off
we're
on
getting too,
a
I'm
big,
getting excited, man.
No, this is great though. This is great because we have great topics, but I just want to center us back here. So
you guys mind if I spark up on the stream, or could
No.
I get you guys?
I think you're good. We're on Spotify and YouTube and whatever.
we're not
I don't think it doesn't
monetized yet.
matter. Fuck it.
Okay.
It's a cigarette.
Is that a
It's
cigarette?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good, bro. Hell yeah. Fucking cigs inside. Let's go.
Hey,
That tickled me so much.
The reason why I can smoke in here is because I pulled the plug on Grandma, and now I'm geeked up for the house.
Shout out to Grandma.
Grandma's oxygen tank is off permanently now.
She's
Are you
just
being
in the
serious?
No.
She's just in the
Goddamn.
I'm watching.
You're gonna have to learn. You're
Right.
gonna have to get used to this. Trust me. Yeah.
What kind of dart are you smoking?
My
Let me guess. Wait, let me guess. Oh, you pulled it up. No, it's all good. And was that a Camel Red or was it like a Turkish something?
Camel Red 99. My preferred is Turkish Royal.
Turkish Royals. Let's go, dude. Turkish Royals
You
are
also
like
smoked a Camel Jade, a Turkish Jade.
dude. Those are the menthol Royals.
Those are
Are those even around
good.
anymore? I think they got rid of them like years
I
ago.
haven't had one since 2020.
Fucking 8,
so I
10
wouldn't
years
know.
ago, probably. Yeah.
This really fancy kid from Arkansas put me onto them in a halfway house in Alabama in 2020.
But yeah, I
Never
think
seen one before.
I don't know. I let's rewind a little bit. I think let's start maybe from the beginning because you were talking a bit about you read about ketamine in the dictionary at 11, and then
Yes.
let's maybe talk about your history of drug use and what your introductions
Yeah, how'd you
were
get into
and,
drugs after that?
You know, like go
My
through
Because
experience
like
with
you didn't
drugs-
contradict yourself, but you said you were hesitant to try it after having it around for a while. So yeah,
Well,
give us
the reason why I was hesitant to try ketamine, later in my teens is, mainly because of I would say I was considerably less psychologically stable at 16 or 17 than I was at 11 or 12 for some reasons. But I would say that the start of my drug use actually was probably 8 years old when I was given pseudoephedrine for my cold, and I noticed the slight upper effect of it. I walked in the hallway in elementary school, and I felt like I was 10 feet tall. I'd washed it down with some coffee, and I guess that was really the love affair with stimulants, and I began, drinking caffeine regularly, even in elementary school.
It's so fucking funny.
I did too, bro. I started in fourth grade.
What the fuck is wrong with you guys?
LSD, I tried when I was 12. I never had any like peer group that influenced me to try drugs. I always got these on my own accord. I remember saving up my birthday money at like 12 years old and going out to buy a prepaid Visa just so I could, when I was 12, get 1p LSD off the ClearNet. When I was 12,
One Piece indistinguishable.
I was 12 going into 13, I also grew my own opium poppies and refined my own opium all in my mother's kitchen with her never finding out and just thinking that I had a passion for gardening. But I smoked opium at about 13 years old after an entire summer of grinding, being a meticulous farmer. And I basically
level 99
washed
farmer.
all of my dried poppy stalks in boiling water, and I filtered it into a Pyrex plate, and I carefully evaporated off all the water. I set an alarm for like 3 a.m. and I crept downstairs, and I did this all on the stove, and I was left with a resin on this Pyrex plate that I scraped off, and I would eventually smoke out of a makeshift crack pipe I made out of a light bulb. And
The first time I ever smoked weed was out of a light bulb.
I'd say
Dude,
I smoked opium
shit.
before I smoked weed.
That's
Yeah, I
fucking
was I've never
crazy,
smoked
dude.
opium, dude. I've always
What?
wanted to. That's amazing.
Homemade opium, dude. That's so
Homemade
great.
opium,
That's buck
too.
wild,
There's
bro.
something like so artisanal about that. It's
Art-
just beautiful, bro. It's the fruits of your own labor.
I felt so rewarded.
You deserve
by it in
that
ways
high.
I
You
can't
earned it.
describe. Yeah, I could go out these days and buy some opiate, but it would never match the feeling of satisfaction of growing it myself under
That's
the
fucking
guise
real
of
shit.
all authority.
People don't understand about the poppy seed tea era too, when you could get poppy seeds online. Now they all come washed and like they kind of nixed that method. But like making poppy seed tea, and I'm sure the same is true for like your homemade opium latex or opium resin, but there's so many alkaloids in that that are, you know,
I chose strains
they
that
filter out the good
mainly
ones
had
for
morphine as the dominant alkaloid. I was careful about that. You could get Peshawar whites and Lauren's grape, you know, ones that have low thebian.
That's what I was gonna ask. What there's one alkaloid or compound called like theobromide or what? Maybe what you just said, something with a th, I believe, or a pr.
Thebaine, thebaine. And
Thebaine, yes,
mainly,
and that can be like vasoconstricting or something like that.
Yeah, mainly norepinephrine type toxicity type effects and some convulsive
not what
effects,
you're looking for out of an opiate high.
Like a low-grade strychnine.
Yeah, no, fuck that. I remember being kind of dissuaded from trying the poppy seed tea thing when reading about like, yeah, it's a crapshoot about what percentage, what concentration of which alkaloids you're gonna get. That's
crazy.
Fascinating. So after you smoke,
that is a nuts story. That we're gonna make a reel out of that. That was fucking nuts.
Yeah, no, that's great. We need to start clipping.
I already have notes.
Like
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Channel. Yeah, that'll be a perfect clip.
Yeah.
Someone gave me a really good piece of advice too. They say, look at the audio of the video, and when you have audio spikes, that's normally when it's a good sign to clip, because that's when like it's high energy or people are laughing or we're like excited or whatever.
That's a good idea.
It would be kind of basic, but to me, I was like, that's a good idea. So you smoked. What was the first substance you tried? Was it the 1P LSD you saved up for, or?
I guess the first hallucinogenic was DXM followed by 1P LSD.
That was DXM the first time you ever got high, the first time you ever tried drugs?
If you're not counting,
or aside from the pseudoephedrine walking 10 feet tall down the hallway. Yeah. What's your are you a daily substance user these days?
Well, I have a pretty considerable caffeine tolerance, sometimes 1,200 milligrams a day. I use amphetamine maybe twice a month. And ketamine, I'd say every couple months.
Interesting, dude. You seem like you got some pretty good.
That seems like a little bit more relaxed than like previous previous times that we've been in contact.
Chronic amphetamine addict. That's probably been the worst addiction that I've had.
Talking like dextroamphetamine and levoamphetamine, like traditional Adderall, mixed amphetamine salts.
Traditional Adderall, yep. Which I was prescribed at around. I was prescribed at around 14 or 15.
That's honestly always my favorite highs has been. It's hard to beat the amphetamine buzz, even when I had access to very pure cocaine quantities.
Yeah.
The only time that I have been hospitalized
of various purity, I would always prefer Adderall or Vyvanse.
Vyvanse.
Yeah.
I like Vyvanse a lot better than Adderall because it's lisdexamphetamine, so you got the L isomer or whatever, the lysine, I think it is, that gets cleaved off in the small intestine rather than the liver. Yeah, I think it's cleaved off in the small intestine before it gets processed into the liver, whereas Adderall just straight processed by the liver, but then you're left with a steady stream of just pure dextroamphetamine without the levoamphetamine and Adderall. The levo, that's the tweak and the body load and the and the dextro is like
interesting about amphetamine formulations. The XR, in my opinion, isn't even required because the way that IR amphetamine is formulated. It has the sulfates as well as the saccharate salts of it, which are kind of there to act as their own, delayed metabolism, even if it's an IR formulation. But
Yeah.
the
No,
only
I
time
was always
for
Go ahead.
drug use, I'd say when I was around 15 to 16, I unfortunately decided to abuse phenibut, which I was ordering off the ClearNet, and I
you
thought
fucking
that I would
do.
be able. I thought that I would be able to go absolutely ham with it and taper myself off of it fine, but that didn't end up working out for me. And I was basically in the ER, and they had to prescribe me baclofen so I didn't have a seizure.
Yeah, phenibut's horrible withdrawals. I got
Is
some
it
fucking
that?
baclofen
Yep.
stories too, geez.
wow.
Phenibut, for those that don't know, listening, phenibut is a strange Russian Soviet ADHD
GABA
medicine, even though it's a
agonist
GABA
and
agonist.
calcium channel blocker. Which is
Yeah, it's a GABA B
provides
agonist. It's similar, in my
muscle
opinion, it was like a
relaxation.
dirty Valium high.
Yeah, and the muscle rigidity and the withdrawals is probably a lot more than something like benzos would ever produce, just because of that muscle relaxing effect from the calcium channel blocking.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
calcium
benzo
muscle.
withdrawal with
Yeah,
some added flair.
anything with calcium is gonna fuck your muscles up like that. If you have, it's so important
It's
to.
interesting to me how there's stuff that the voltage gated calcium channels in our brain are related to GABA. Like that's how gabapentinoids work, like Lyrica and gabapentin.
Gabapentin,
Lyrica's
man, is.
pregabalin.
I bet you I've
They're
never done
not
Lyrica. I
direct.
bet you it's even juicier than gabapentin, but
Oh my god, Lyrica is gabapentin's hardcore bigger
I would love to try
bigger
that.
brother. You don't have to do the stagger method like you do with gabapentin to get the bioavailability up with like the lipids and the
See, that's
citric
probably where I
acid.
fucked up when I did gabapentin, is that I would just take it all at once because I'm like, I want more of it. But
So,
you're
dude,
telling me now, I'm
gabapentin-
realizing you have to stagger it for the
Yes.
bioavailability. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I would have like I got up to taking between 8 and 12 grams of gabapentin for my sessions, like 8,000 to 12,000
Holy
milligrams.
fuck.
And if you took all that at once, you would just process most of it out. But the key with gabapentin is between 300 and 600, no more than 600 milligrams at a time. You set a timer for every 15, 30, or 45 minutes based on your metabolism, and you take it with something very acidic and a high lipid concentration. So like some McDoubles and some Sprites were always my go-to. Sprite was my go-to.
Dude, that
You
sounds
have
like
a
a
long
great
for me,
night. McDoubles, Sprites, and
You would take-
gabapentin.
Yeah, and I would take the gabapentin 300 milligrams every 15 minutes for like 8 fucking hours, like all day long, dude. And by the time all of it that much is accumulating in your system, I call it a benzophetamine because it feels like benzos, opiates, and amphetamines. And then you get fucking visuals. You get the craziest, not psychedelic.
I've gotten
like
visuals from
visual.
gabapentin.
Yes, you get more like
They're very
it was
colorful.
laser shows to me. Yes. And dude, that was one of the craziest highs. I got onto that early when I was young, probably like 16. I started stealing gabapentin from a dog I was in charge of taking care of for my neighbor.
Vets give that shit out to animals a ton. I had liquids for the cats one time, and in a bottle, and I'm just like, they're not getting shit. I feel like such a piece of shit now, but looking back on it, because I was a filthy
I feel
addict
bad
back
for that
then.
as well. Don't
but
think. Yeah, this dog had a badass supply, so he wasn't going without. But then I maintained heavy prescriptions of it for years. I got put on the max FDA approved dose of Lyrica a day from a psychiatrist, convincing her all sorts of things. She had me on the max FDA approved dose of Klonopin. She had me on 6 milligrams of Klonopin a day, 2 milligrams of Ativan a day, 45 milligrams of temazepam Restoril a day, and 600 milligrams of Lyrica a day. Now, mind you, we started at 15 milligrams of Lyrica a day. Lyrica is active, from 15 to 30 is a jump. 30 to 45.
so you were all the way up to
60, that's a jump.
600?
600 milligrams a day. And I would take it between 900 and 1200 milligrams. Now, every single report online will tell you, every anecdotal report I can find on Reddit or Airwood will tell you, 1200 anything above 900 milligrams of Lyrica, you're gonna have a myoclonic seizure. You're gonna fuck yourself up. Don't do it. I was like, I must know. I think I took 1500 milligrams after taking 900 and then 1200 with no seizures or negative effects. when I took the 1,500 milligrams, dude, I had a myoclonic seizure for like 3 hours, which is where you're seizing, but you're conscious the whole time. And so I strapped on a hockey helmet, climbed into bed, and told my ex-fiance,
Hockey
fiance at the
helmet.
time, hey, if I go out, if I'm not responsive, then call 911. But I think I'm just gonna ride this shit out, and that was not fun. But yeah, Lyrica, you don't have to do any of the staggering you do with gabapentin. You should take it on an empty stomach, or else the bioavailability is severely reduced. But it's one hell of a drug, dude. Pregabalin, it's honestly one of my favorite singular highs of all time. And there's something about it, it makes me want to compulsively redose and consume any other drug on the table. Like I'll go start wanting to take some fucking nutmeg when I'm on it.
Wow.
It has the benzos do the same, where I'm just down for anything and I want
Yeah,
everything.
I think that's just anything that touches your dopamine at all. I almost feel like, to me, like if I know, like even like if I would come down from like a cocaine binge, even when I was like sober, I would get like, I would want to go gamble. And then I would like, if I would like I would like run out of money. And then I'm like, okay, can I get dope? You know what I mean? Like it's just like this cascading or any sort of dopamine fix you can get. I don't know.
There's 3 massage parlors one night chasing that same thing. The woman at the second one is like, oh, you watch a lot of porn? You watch a lot of TV? You cannot perform? You cannot get it up? Sorry for the accent, not trying to be offensive. But I was like, didn't have the heart to tell her, like, no, I was just at your competitor's spot up the road. I'm just like,
yeah, I'm on 1,500 milligrams of pregabalin and I'm trying to jerk off.
Pregabalin, benzo, and modafinil brain. I was on a bunch of modafinil too. I was like convinced I was going to go save this other girl at the massage parlor from like human trafficking, because I was like, how'd you get in this job? How'd you get here? She was, because the first time we fucked, like full service and everything. Then
holy shit!
This old lady at a different one, like up the road. Then I went back to the first one. This was a very expensive night. It's very fucking expensive. And they're like, "You're back," and I was like, "Yeah, let me see that first girl again." She was awesome. She was like younger, and she was like, "Oh my god, you're back!" And she just like hugged me. We just like kind of cuddled, and she started to like get to action. And I was like, "No, let's just talk." I was like, "How'd you get into this? Like, do you do this by choice?" And she was like, "Well, I work all day shift." I was like, "What is all day shift?" She was like, "We work 16 hour, then we sleep, and then 16 hour, then we sleep." I was like, "Every day?" She's like, 7 days a week. I said, "For how long?" And we go 3 months, and then we go back to Texas. And I said, "You can go back to Texas? What's in Texas?" And she looks around and she goes, and I'm like, "Yo, think about all the human trafficking going on in Texas. It's on the border of Mexico." I was like, "Bro,
yeah,
they're getting bussed up here by the," so I got it in my brain, like, I'm going to come bust her out and save her this week. How am I going to do this? And then I went home, passed out, and never went back. Fuck.
Damn.
Thank you for listening. Anecdote.
That's fucking nuts. What the fuck?
Sad. It was harrowing, dude. It was harrowing, truly.
Am I cutting out at all?
No, you sound good.
I think you're good, dude.
Yeah, I think he's a little choppy. So if you feel a little,
all right, Sebby. First, do you have any crazy stories or any stories in general you want to just share or tell? Or we have to be more specific.
I guess I could talk about the one time that I was arrested.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I found this abandoned house. Me and my friend did, and it was kind of on a main road, and we kind of my friend made the stupid decision to go there with his car. The rest of us had biked there, and basically all we had done was, this was an abandoned house in the sense that it was abandoned, but someone was still paying the electricity bill for it. It was like complete overgrowth everywhere. And I forgot how we had snuck in, but come morning time, there was a cop car in the driveway. And, they went out to talk to the police officer. I tried to sneak out through the back door. Yep.
You say, so abandoned house, it's got the lights still on, someone's paying the electricity, you and the homie go and break in to see what's up and kind of do some exploration. But then you fast forward and you're like, yeah, come morning. What the fuck?
Yeah, what happened all
there was
night?
Some like, fuck you're all doing in there all night long.
We had decided to have a sleepover there, and I
Hell
brought my
yeah.
laptop with some movies downloaded. I think we were watching like Apocalypse Now or
Dude,
some
that's
shit.
so dope.
And,
What the fuck?
you know, we were planning on getting drunk in there, but you know, the guy tasked with raiding their father's liquor cabinet fucking shortchanged us, and we had maybe 250 milliliters of vodka to share between the fucking three of us. So we did not get very drunk, to say the least, but it was pretty fun. We set up the laptop on like some like old fucking cardboard box we found in there, and we the oven was still working. The oven was like filled with rat shit, you know, because it was abandoned. But we like swept it out of there, and we cooked this fucking great value frozen pizza. So
You cooked
that was
it
our.
and ate out of it.
That's awesome.
I mean,
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah. I mean, I'd say that was our little sleepover there, a little moment of teenage rebellion that unfortunately resulted in the cops being called. And while my two friends were talking with the police, I thought that I could be slick and sneak out the back door and V-line for the sidewalk and just, you know, casually walk away. But no, the squad car just rolled up on me. I was like, hello, officer. But luckily, the owner didn't choose to press charges because we didn't, you know, steal anything or destroy anything, really.
You didn't cook my rat shit, did you?
Yeah.
That's funny as fuck. Dude, yeah,
What was the
that's
charge?
it's
Just
funny
criminal-
those like
criminal trespassing.
Yeah, I assume that would be the charge. I don't know if they would pin us for breaking and entering, because if I remember correctly, we didn't really need to break anything to get in. I think it was just like a
Just
entering.
Well, entering.
Shit.
That's awesome, dude. That's such a classic, just like wholesome teenage
Yeah.
gin fucking.
I have a similar story to that. We there was a public, so where I grew up on a street called Eden Place. And I always used to like, sometimes when I would trip, I would think about that I was like when I was in my childhood, it was like the Garden of Eden or what, you know, like whatever, with like weird association of nostalgia with childhood or whatever. But
I was on
across-
Elm Street.
oh shit. across the street from there was like tennis courts that were connected to a public school that was like a middle school and then an elementary school and a high school, like all the same system. But a lot of my friends grew up in the neighborhood near us. We would ride our bikes around because this was like early 2000s, late 90s when kids used to actually fucking do that shit, you know? And we used to climb onto the jungle gym and then jump up onto the roof of the elementary school and climb around up there. It was probably like fucking 30 feet up. It was huge. But we would bring up board games, and we used to have Risk tournaments up there. So we would bring a Risk board game and sit on the rooftop of the elementary school and like just chill up there and like, you know, learn how to smoke cigarettes and play board games.
Hell yeah.
Looking back on it, it's so weird as fuck for like elementary school kids to be playing Risk. It's so autistic.
Dude, I loved Monopoly was my jam.
Hell
I feel
yeah.
you. Now I'm into like, I love board games now. There's some like more nerdier, I guess, strategy games I like Everdell.
I guess I think I'm really interested in hearing, Sebby, like what your take on like the current, what's this, like society's current trajectory and everything with like AI and what like the future holds for us all. I'd be really interested to hear like what your analysis is of like where we are and where we're going. I know that's a broad question, but
Doomer
Yeah,
or optimist?
I don't really think I have any definitive opinion on that, at least not right now.
that's a fair assessment.
What keeps you going, man?
I feel like a lot of
What gives
people
you
are
purpose?
really quick to try to like have a definitive opinion, and sometimes the right move is to just like sit back and just observe. So I respect that, you know, you're just saying like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What gives you purpose? What do you like to do? What's your philosophy for life? What's your mission? I hate when people ask like, oh, what do you do? Talking about what they mean is, what's your place in the wage slave capitalistic? What's your, what cog are you in the capitalist machine?
Yeah.
Self-worth or worth or praise or lack thereof of you is completely tied to, material achievement. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm curious.
I
like,
guess
logistically,
I derive the most pleasure from, analyzing my subjective experiences and relating them to, the bigger picture. It's what I find most stimulating, as much as I can.
sit there and psychoanalyze yourself a lot, introspection.
Yeah.
And other people, yes.
So I feel like I'm on this sounds maybe cringy or pretentious, but like a quest for enlightenment. Like I want to be the absolute best person I can be. And it's entertaining for me and also very useful to look at like my thoughts and actions. Be like, well, why do I do this? Why do I want to do this? What is the, good? I'm like, why? A lot of things go back to pleasure pain principle for me. A lot of other people's behavior that I psychoanalyze or, I deduce a lot of that to ego. Just ego running rampant. So I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah, I also feel like though you have to be careful of confusing ego with survival sometimes, because I think they're so like they can be so bound together that sometimes the decisions we think we're making out of survival are because of ego, and sometimes the decisions we think we're making because of our ego are actually out of like a desire to survive, like a true organic, like I feel sometimes deciphering between those two can be challenging if you're not like really diving deeply into your thought motivations or your trauma or like, I think that's something people maybe have failed to like to recognize sometimes, is that like we've kind of like simplified a lot of the like psychedelic drug talk very easily to be like ego, like you're gonna have ego death.
Yeah, like what?
And it's like, is it that simple? Like, is it really that easy to just put that word on our feelings and our motivations? Sometimes I don't think it is. I think, but it's still a very like valuable way to quickly kind of like, because for the most part, things are probably like in the range of an ego thought, right? Compared to like your normal reptilian brain decisions that are like more, analytical.
I guess
thought.
one thing I could talk about is, I guess hypnagogic or, borderline hallucinatory experiences that I've had before I tried drugs.
Yeah.
I'd say
Please.
when I was 7 or 8 years old, this is still something that, I remember vividly because I still can't really chalk it up to being completely a dream. Whether it was sleep paralysis, I don't exactly know, because, I experience sleep paralysis regularly these days, and it didn't exactly feel like how it does now. I remember I was 7 or 8 years old, and I was sleeping at my grandfather's house, laying in bed in the darkened room with nothing but the glow of the analog alarm clock to the side of the bed. I remember waking up in the night and looking to the side and seeing that the time was either somewhere between 2:30 and 3. And, I was just kind of sitting there looking at the time real quick until I realized there was something below the green glow of this analog alarm clock. It sort of looked like a gray outline. And I looked down. This was a pretty tall bed. And I saw this gray looking thing it looked like a human torso. It was about 2 to 3 feet tall. And it was it was a human torso that seemed to have arms and legs, but no neck or head. And it had black eyes and a very, very big mouth. And I was just staring at this thing, and all of a sudden I black out, and I'm standing in the driveway, and the sky above me is illuminated in that everything around me is sorry, I heard something. I don't know what that is, but everything was in stasis and illuminated, and in front of me, this torso creature is still right in front of me, making eye contact. And next thing I know, I'm back in my bed, and it's morning time. So I do think that was just a really vivid dream or sleep paralysis experience, but it definitely something that still gives me the chills just recounting.
So the thing that had no head, the eyes and the mouth were like in its torso. Is that what
kind of looked like it? So imagine like I have no head, the eyes are right here, and the mouth is right.
So you know what that made me think of?
The things that people think live in where is it, Agatha?
Agartha?
Or Antarctica, the Agartha.
Do you guys remember this show? You're probably too young. I just sent it to the chat. It's called Real Monsters. You remember this motherfucking guy that used to hold his eyeballs up? It was an old Nickelodeon show. I just sent it to our...
Yeah.
I remember that from Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah, the eyeball guy. Yeah, that shit was dope, dude. Yeah.
Sebby, that story made me fucking... like, I'm intrigued, bro. I want to keep talking about stuff like this because, like... So I'm sober from hardcore polysubstance addiction, daily used for 12 years. Recently, I had 3 months of total sobriety. I'm on methadone maintenance to help with my cravings, so I'm on methadone. From that, 3 months of total sobriety, and then I did 1.5 grams of ketamine and 4.5 liter tank last week. Got right back to being sober this week, and I continue staying sober. I don't plan to do any nitrous, hopefully, maybe ever again. It was... I went full Steve-O mode with that for some years. Not worth it for me. The ketamine, this isn't popular in the fucking 12-step school of thought and everything. A lot of people about this, but the ketamine is very spiritual for me. Helps me, I want to say truly kind of helps me be sober from other things. I want to be a better person. Like it refreshed my patience and my tolerance for sobriety. The antidepressant effects, the neuroplastic effects, they're phenomenal. It was just extremely therapeutic for me. Anyways, what helps me stay sober on a day-to-day basis and in general makes me okay with not bare minimum smoking cannabis every day. I don't do that either. I love cannabis. I never thought I'd give that up, but it's hypnagogic states every night. Those trip me out enough and give me enough intrigue and like mysticism for the world and the hope for lucid dreams. There's a substance called 1,4-butanediol. It's a GHB prodrug. And I got very heinously addicted to that some years back. I had to take it every 2 hours because of the short half-life. But I found a dose, and this is all connected. Just bear with me here. I found a dose. It was between 1.8 and 2.2 milliliters because it was a liquid that would knock me out perfectly. And when I was in this knocked out state, bro, it was like the people in Inception that are hooked up to the IVs down in that lab and they're addicted to the dream world. This substance would induce the most insane lucid dreams every time. Like I became truly addicted to my lucid dreams more than my actual reality. I was in a halfway house doing this. They didn't test for 1,4-butanediol or phenibut. I took phenibut when I was working at a pizza place from my shift was 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then from 10:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. the next day, I'm taking 1,4-BDO every 2 hours, just lucid dreaming the whole time. I don't have as much success lucid dreaming now as I would like. I do reality checks throughout the day. I do affirmations. I practice mnemonic-induced lucid dreaming. I sometimes practice the wake back to bed technique or the wake-induced lucid dreaming
That works
technique.
really good. Do you do the body sense testing? Like, you should probably do some body sense, like, very intentional feeling your astral self feeling where your body's
I've been-
senses end and
That's
where
what I
your-
do when I'm doing the wild technique, the wake induced.
Yeah,
Lately,
you
I've
should
been
just
doing
do it whenever
finger-induced
though.
lucid
Just
dreaming.
do it when you're falling asleep. Like, where does my body end? Where does whatever else begin? You know, I've for years now, if I dream, it is a fucking wildly intense lucid dream. There's no in between. I go
Always
into
lucid?
full on. I'm in a different world for like 3-4 hours feeling, and I wake up and I'm like disoriented. I don't know.
That's me every night now. It's just not always lucid. But it is a vivid fucking dream every night.
For a long time, I was very much into the binaural beats. That kind of got me into the ketamine, the K-holes, because I would put on, you know, like I would find like a pure tone, like of a alpha wave or whatever beta wave. I can't even remember which now
the fucking
is.
hemisync.
And I would ride that as like a carrier wave down into the K-hole. And throughout the practices of like learning how to lucid dream and doing that, like I've figured out a like if I K-hole, I can if I'm right up to the edge, I can force myself down into the K-hole without taking any more. Like I don't have to like do more drugs. Like I can make myself go down there now. It's more of an astral projection thing than I think the ketamine just kind of helps you get there, but I don't think it's a necessary component of it really. Like for being, you know, but I don't know.
Different people, bro, said they went with their friend, so it's 4 people total, but 2 separate people tell me this they don't know each other, unrelated stories, that they went into the same K-hole as someone else.
I think you
once.
can. I
also
can
experience telepathy.
I've had that even on LSD experiences. I've seen that happen where you close your eyes and I was laying with a friend like, and we were on this futon like this, and we both had our heads like this, and it was like the like Alex Gray like cathedral like wah wah wah, like it was like between both of our brains. We could both see it like this, and then we went into this like lucid dream fucking fused reality thing.
That's incredible.
And the weird part was when I came out of it, I just remember being panicked and like scared, and because it was so disorienting, and I don't remember as much of like what that trip was like as much as I remember like K-hole trips. Those seemed like I'm able to carry them with me a lot. Like I still have some pretty intense visual memories of some of the like more deep K-hole experiences I've had, but it seems like other psychedelics they don't make it to your long-term memory like as much as the K ones do for some reason.
I would agree with that. Sebby, I want to hear some of your thoughts on this and more experiences you've had, because like
I definitely have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Let me wrap up
theta.
this thought and then hand you the baton just so I can like channel my full attention. I just wanted to say every night it is gnarly, insane dreams. Like you said, Zoot, 3-4 hours worth of content of movies. I mean, every night, but it's not always lucid. Maybe I'll get a lucid dream. Honestly, lately it's been months, but in the past I've been able to achieve
methadone
once a month when sober. I think the methadone kind of does help with the dreaming intensity as well. But just the paranormal, aliens, dream states, psychedelic experiences, all of that occupies my brain all the time while I'm sober on a day-to-day basis. And I look forward to the hypnagogic state every night. I'm taking a break from reading novels right now. I just finished The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman. I love fantasy books.
Oh,
but I've been reading
dude, we haven't even talked about
paranormal
fantasy
Reddit
books
threads
yet.
every night.
I'm a big
I'm
sure we got
that's a
tons
whole
of that's great. Next week we'll talk about that.
But so like I want to know if you've had more experience, and for those that don't know who are listening, hypnagogic hallucinations, hypnagogic states, that is the between dream and awake sort of hallucinatory state where sleep paralysis can occur, or the weirdness can happen when you're starting to fall asleep. And I think it has something to do with your brain waves pushing over for the theta waves. Maybe Sebby, you want to take over?
Yeah. Another hypnagogic state that I could talk about. I've mentioned in the past that I was born with visual snow and by proxy high glutamate. And I do think that has contributed to some of the hypnagogic states that I've had. I remember
Makes sense because that's the
this one
excitatory
time,
neurotransmitter.
where it was this dream where it was almost like a intense K-hole. I can only describe it as like a glutamate storm. It was just this complete black winding void. I could only conceptualize what I saw in front of me as a vague outline of a sidewalk. Obviously it wasn't. But what I heard was every sound that the human palate is capable of making, all the clicks, all of the things that make up the language of humans that I'd heard before, but not words, was hissing all around me all at once. And in that state, in that dream, I felt as if it was trying to tell me something, and it was in accordance to this winding, spiral of oblivion. I saw these pitches of these human made noises were oscillating, and I thought it was like the collective codex of the world speaking to me or something like that. I was maybe like 12. And what I'd gotten out of that, I almost felt like I'd been like electric shocked or something. I don't know. But I do attribute that to like some kind of glutamate hyperactivation in a hypnagogic state.
Sounds extremely distressing.
Well, I was more interested in what it meant, if it meant anything at all, because there was something that I thought that I had learned during it that I soon after forgotten. I don't know.
Very reminiscent of a K-hole. Yes, I know what you mean by that. That reminds me of these dreams I would have in adolescence.
I remember he related it to something called Indra's net. I remember I was telling Zoot about it once.
What is that?
I'm not really sure.
Indra's net is a concept from Hinduism that Indra, one of the part of their polytheistic worldview, and Indra he cast. They call it his jeweled net. So if you imagine a fishing net that has gemstones where every cross of the rope happens, or you could also imagine it as like a spider web with dewdrops on it, and the dew collects at the intersections of the web, right? Well, inside of those dewdrops, it's a reflection of all the world around it. And so then you imagine, well, that dewdrop sees a different dewdrop, and that dewdrop reflects all of the dewdrop. It's a fractal. It's a metaphor for a fractal and fractal hieroglyphic type of relationship or reality, I guess. But there's a lot of different like psychedelic states you can get into where that imagery and that wordplay of describing the jeweled net or the dewdrops on a spider web. You know how sometimes these metaphors and these things just click with you when you fully understand them because of something you've experienced or whatever. I think there's like some psychedelic states you get into that are very reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
There was a dream I had recurring when I was in adolescence that was so distressing. I was in a void. There was nothing except conscious awareness. There was no visual input whatsoever, just darkness. And I wasn't in a body. It was just awareness. But it was just a cacophony of kind of what you described, Sevi, like every noise imaginable. But it was just the howling and distressed cries of just millions of tormented souls, almost like I was basically in hell. And it just... and it just being the worst feeling ever, and me even though I was just conscious awareness, the feeling of mentally writhing and folding in and collapsing on oneself over and over and over, trying to escape that. And then there would be peace and silence, and then a choir of beautiful, harmonious, euphonious angels singing, and it was like this graph. It would be like of going up and down, up like sine waves of just this beautiful peace noises, and then boom, plunged back into hell and distress. And then the intervals at which I would switch back and forth would increase until it was a rapid back and forth. And then I would wake up so distraught and just harrowed, dude, and just like would not sleep for the rest of the night. And this was a recurring dream I had quite a bit as a kid. And it was so, I mean, one of the worst things I've ever experienced. Truly, one of the most painful things I've been able to ever experience. Ugh. My girlfriend related to that when I told her about it. She remembers dreaming just being in the void as well. She was younger. She actually had a past life recurring dream constantly. She was growing up of being the daughter of a minor lord in a feudal like castle, a feudal like manor, and it's being stormed by angry villagers and another army with like pitchforks and torches and stuff, and the guards are trying to get her to go back up the spiral staircase in the turret. And she's at this point, she's like terrified, and she comes out of her bedroom after they ushered her back up, and she sees the people bust in the door and they're running up, and she goes to run up the staircase, and then someone comes up and stabs her in the back with a lance, and she dies and wakes up always at that point. And she had that dream constantly over and over and over growing up.
She gets Sephiroth.
Fascinates the fuck out of me. Yeah. Dude, it just... have you guys heard about those kids who have had dreams where more modern past life regret?
That's fucking weird, like, dude. I was a
pilot over Iwo Jima, and this was the name of my crew and my plane. And then the parents would like look it up, and it's like real shit that a 4-year-old would be able to know.
It's fucking bizarre, dude. I don't know how do you explain that shit. Yeah, I don't know how we would.
Sebby, how do you feel about the afterlife, and like, why do you think we're here? Do you think we chose to come here from some higher plane for entertainment? Do you think this is punishment? Do you think this is divine? Like,
I don't think that we chose this, but I fear that in all likelihood our lives that we are living right now are going to repeat exactly as it happened.
Fucking Nietzsche, bro. He said some shit. Fuck.
Yeah. But that's just where I currently am right now. I'd like to feel disproved otherwise, or I don't know.
That's horrifying. Nietzsche, I think, said, how would it change how you lived your life if you knew that on an endless loop you would live everything over and over again as it's been and as it will be? How would that change how you then lived going forward?
That's such a but isn't that contradictory though? If what do you mean? How could I change it? If I'm living it on a loop, it's already set in stone. What was there to change?
If you were given that knowledge right now, and you believe you have free will going forward, how would that influence how you live the remainder of your life?
I mean, I just feel like the way that's question is posited though. It's like what do you mean? If that's how it is, then I don't have a choice, you know, like, I don't know. I like the thought experiment. I like the thought experiment, and I get what it is saying, but I also feel like there is a paradox there, right? In the sense of like fate, right? The fate paradox, I guess, versus free will.
Well, I mean, you guys believe in free will?
Yeah, of course. 100%.
Okay. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. I want to hear more, Sebby. I want to hear why you don't, and I want to hear also why you think what you just said, that we live this on a loop. But Zoot, if you believe in free will, then if right now what Sebby said as he believes is going to happen after this, if you knew that to be true, or you begun believing that, like,
I'd say that eternal recurrence for me is a hopeful alternative to nothingness. Plain and simple. Of course, I don't know definitively that it's going to be that way, but I guess that's kind of a hopeful thought for me that might happen.
Is nothingness?
No,
it's hopeful. Okay, recursion, repeating all this is more hopeful to you than a void.
Yes.
So why do you think that we're going to repeat? Because honestly, the void would be preferable to me. I'd rather this just be it, and then it's just blissful nothing. You know, prenatal equals postmortem. No,
Well-
it's like before I was born will be like after I'm death. I hope there's I hope it's a fucking heaven. I hope there's a reincarnation, and I can keep trying to level up. But
It's a roguelike.
I wanna repeat this shit. Yeah, so
I would
exactly.
love
I want
to be
like to be a
able
roguelike.
to stay with the people that I care about forever. That's a wonderful thought to me, and I wish it could be true. But even if there was a heaven, would we even be ourselves enough to discern each other from one another as the individuals
I think
that
it's
we love them as? So
No,
I mean,
no, I don't think
there's
so.
a yeah, so I wouldn't want that type of heaven. I wouldn't want, I don't know, like from
Well, why? What makes you
Evangelion,
think it would be that way?
I just
me.
I can't
Either of you.
imagine I can't imagine an anthropomorphic heaven where individuals are distinct from one another.
Well, I guess I can understand that. My concept of heaven is more that we're all returned to the source from which we came, and like there is no separation between any of us anymore, and it's like it's a pure telepathy. We aren't, it's like kind of like what the K-hole is kind of like a little bit, sort of, right? But it's like, it's not like we're all walking around as like, hey, I'm in heaven now, I'm on clouds and shit. But it's like your consciousness is all,
Guys, we're here.
your consciousness is reintroduced into source, and everyone else's consciousness is there together. But we're also experiencing it because we're all one consciousness, but we're all just fractions of the one whole, right? I guess that would be my conceptualization of heaven, and why I don't, what was, I guess, the question that we got here on was like, do you believe in an afterlife or whatever? Yeah. And I don't know. I believe in a omnipotent divine entity that, set everything forth. I don't necessarily think of it as like a bearded dude in the sky or whatever, but I think that there's like an eternal consciousness that we are all fragments of, that, we think of ourselves as separate and lesser entities for some stupid reason. Maybe because of survivalism, like an evolution, that it was necessary for us to develop these like identities or whatever. But, I think there's just divinity in all of us, that's where we all came from, and that's where we go back to, I guess. I think that's like all that I can be really certain of. And beyond that, I guess I don't really know what it would be like, but I do know, I feel like I'm pretty certain of those few like things I stated, like I've experienced those enough times outside of my own ego that I feel like I'm like, okay, I get it now. Like, and I think
Rather
like,
than there being an anthropomorphic. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, I think that like some of these thoughts, maybe earlier humans bumped up against and didn't have the like vocabulary or perhaps understanding to like conceptualize, and that's how we ended up with like monotheism, I guess, was like a way for us to explain
Out of the gaps.
the gaps in our existence, and that was the only way that they knew how to maybe conceptualize. I don't know, I guess that's 200 years from now they might look back at us or 1,000 years from now they might look back at us the same way. Who knows?
Yeah. Imagine a crack high or an opiate nod or an orgasm or all the above times 1 trillion, to where there's no anthropomorphic heaven, but you're just floating as a kernel of bliss.
I don't want
in perpetuity. Oh, I never want this to end. But imagine if it was so good and you didn't have the capacity to not want. It was just unending pleasure and awareness. There'd be no ability to not want, because it would be
and it would
the most phenomenal thing.
It wouldn't matter because you're not
that
a
idea of
person
heaven.
anymore. You're not.
I want I want the pain and the insecurity and the things that create dissonance between the people we love, because it makes us real too.
Well, you get that while we're down here.
Pleasure.
We get that while we're here.
Hell yeah, you
Soak it up.
getting fucking started.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, why is there something instead of nothing? A lot of the
Well, there has to be.
With all
How there can't be nothing, right? What do you mean?
Why is there anything at all? You know, why
there
is
has to be?
I don't know. That's I've met. Some
It's
people
the nature.
Well,
the nature of existence is polarity, right? Right. The nature of existence is there has to be polarity, and that's it. It's sprung from the fact of polarity has to exist because of the concept of either nothing or something, right? And from that is the seed that which everything else exploded out. This binary, right? And then I guess I don't know. That's the way I think about it, right? Like you can't have nothing. There's no such thing as nothing
within our mental framework. But I don't know. I guess before you were born, like your awareness, there's
I guess, but that's there. Just in that's only in the frame of from my perspective, right?
What I like to think and what I believe a lot in my gut sometimes is that living existence, Earth, humans, everything as we know it is like, let's say a late 1980s pixelated 8-bit video game. And when we die, there's something beyond this that would be like a modern AAA title, a VR game that blows your foot, something so beyond and intense compared to this, incomprehensible, something anthropomorphic where there's individuality or there's self, there's things. But imagine, I like to think that we chose to come here knowing we would forget everything, knowing that we wouldn't have any concept of anything else, and we did it either to learn something, like to learn humility, or to just to get kind of what you said, Sebby, to get a taste of the good, the bad, and the ugly, to feel all of it. Alan Watts has a great excerpt where he's like, imagine you can
Mormon
dream.
cosmology.
Yeah, dude, Alan Watts is the fucking man. He's like, imagine you could dream a dream, anything you want for an unlimited amount of time. After 10,000 years of the utmost pleasure every night, you would want to start going, hey, you know what? I'm bored of this. I want something more intense. So you'd start having more and more intense ones, and you'd come back and go, oh, wow, that was a close shave, right? And eventually you'd want to get to the point where you could hardly distinguish between a dream and the exact conversation we are having right now. When you then came out of it, you'd be like, holy fuck. You remember the Rick and Morty episode where they put on the helmet and it's like the video game Dave or whatever? Where they live a whole life. They're in an arcade and they put on a helmet in Rick and Morty, and then they have a wife and kids and they live like a 90-year life expectancy, and they go through love, despair, everything, and then the helmet's ripped off. They're like, holy fuck! Because then they're back in the present moment, like, what? How was it, dude? And he's like, Morty's like, Rick, I had a wife and kids and a job. I just sometimes I wonder, like,
dude, I feel that hardcore. Here? I feel that we chose
to have a crazy
your higher self, your fifth dimensional version of you. That's like, I think there's infinite, like a quantum reality of all possible existences, of every permutation beyond a number we can even conceive of. And there's a version of you, I guess, in every permutation of you, right? But above that is a fifth dimensional version of you, which is the you that's like in Hinduism, the Atman, that contains all versions of you, right? And that version of you chooses to incarnate down into these little particulate matter versions of itself so that it can experience the material plane and bump up against these sharp edges and fuck up and feel pain and suffering and the whole rainbow of flavors that you can't feel up in the blissful perfection of, of source energy, I guess. Is
similar reason to what Jung said why God needed Jesus to complete his individuation, as in omnipotence there's a blindness that he needed God as man to compensate for.
To experience non-omnipotence.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find...
Sebby, why do you think that we repeat? Why do you think this is all a loop?
Well, I guess that thought first came to me on a very bad DMT trip that I had when I was 15 years old. A lot of it is blocked from my memory just because of how intense it was. I think my heart rate shot up to around 160 to 180 beats per minute. So what I saw during that 10 minutes, really shook me to the core. And I guess what I saw was what I could only describe as a kind of a topographic map of the sprawling universe and it repeating. I don't know. And that was catastrophic to me. I don't know.
What do you think the point is then? I think the DMT entities exist for real. I think they're in a plane of a dimension of existence higher than this one, and
I've definitely had communication with entities on various substances. I can't say for sure what they are yet. That's something that I want to know.
Are you familiar with Echo?
Dude,
you were talking about it last night.
I was just looking up the documentary. They made a fucking documentary called The Earth Coincidence Control Office. And I was going to suggest we watch it next week as an episode, but it's fucking gone now. So we're not going to be able to do that.
I only found the trailer for it about a month or two ago. I could not find the full film.
It's gone. It's not up yet. We'll find it though.
What about torrent sites?
I'll check it on SoulSeek.
It wasn't out when I was looking for it a couple.
No, it was on this weird. It's an independent documentary. It's not easy to find at all. But I'll try to torrent it or something because I feel like that would be a dope episode as if we just watch it and commentate on it.
Absolutely. For the listeners, John C. Lilly, pioneering neuroscientist, psychonaut. That's a whole nother can of worms I don't even want to get in. Can't get in. I mean, we could, but spearhead that one. But he became convinced that he was communicating with entities on his intensive ketamine experiences and LSD experiences. He invented the float tank, the sensory deprivation tank, and he'd hop in the sensory deprivation tank, go in the K-hole. He became convinced he was being contacted by these entities who were part of a galactic government, so to speak. I
had a notion like that once on an LSD trip. That it was some kind of control agency that wasn't human.
Yeah, and there's these benevolent aliens that are
looking down above you like this. Like I've had weird. Man, I don't know, when I was younger, I had weird trips that I came out of and I was like, dude, I swear I saw things looking down at me that were studying me and watching me. Weird, above it, in a higher dimension, a higher, not of this reality, but they were able to peer into it. But it wasn't like DMT entities where those are mixed among our reality, right? Does that make sense? That they're a mix
we
kind
go
of.
And get mixed in amongst them, and
this was they're looking down into it. I don't know
the firmament,
and it gave me a very uneasy, paranoid, despair feeling to know that they, it destroyed my sense of reality, seeing and hearing, feeling them, their presence, not like other entity experiences that are kind of wondrous or interesting, or this was terror, a feeling of terror. So I could see where John C. Lilly was getting fucked up by that kind of feeling.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I pray to Echo sometimes. He thought that within this gigantic intergalactic hierarchy of intelligent beings, there's one way down the line closer to us called Echo, the Earth Coincidence Control Office. They're in charge of all the happenings and doings here on Earth, and it's a benevolent extraterrestrial office of species of alien, and they are in charge of what happens and what goes on here. Let me pull up John C. Lilly's website, which looks like something made from like Microsoft Paint with like the 80s fucking, I don't know, it's a crazy looking.
I don't think we're gonna be able to find that. It's like it was only at film festivals and shit, I guess.
Oh no, I'm talking about his actual website.
The documentary.
Not the documentary.
Yeah, no, that you'll be able to find.
Yeah, the documentary. I don't know how to find it. Hold on, my phone's being weird.
Oh, bro, I found it.
This website may be impersonating johnclilly.com to steal your personal or financial.
I think I found it. Let me test it out. I gotta try to download this if I can. Holy shit. Here, I'll send you guys the link. Yeah, we should watch this. We should see if we can.
Trying to steal my.
Oh, damn. I don't know if this is going to work.
Here we go. Look at this. The art on his website. Like the.
Yeah.
Setup of it and everything.
It looks like it's like old AOL, like an AOL website.
It reminds me of the Heaven's Gate website.
Yeah. Dude.
Yes. Can I read this to you guys? It's fucking.
Sure.
I love this shit, dude. So it says it's on the John C. Lilly homepage on his website. You know, the quote at the top says, "In the province of the mind, there are no limits." It says, "Echo, ECCO, description. Quote, in one's life, there can be peculiarly appropriate chains of related events that lead to consequences that are strongly desired. After such experiences, one wonders how such a series of events developed. Sometimes there's a strong feeling that some intelligence, greater than ours, directed the course along certain lines which it, he, she, is programming. Several years ago, I enunciated a format for that such concatenations of events, somewhat. There exists a cosmic control center, CCC, with a galactic substation called Galactic Coincidence Control, GCC, within which is the Solar System Control Unit, SSCU, within which is the Earth Coincidence Control Office, ECHO, ECCO. The assignments of responsibilities from the top to the bottom of this system of control is by a set of regulations, which translated by ECHO for humans is somewhat as follows. To all humans. And John C. Lilly, what I'm about to read, the 9 tenets, John C. Lilly thought that this is what the aliens were telling him while he was on ketamine in the float tank. To all humans, if you wish to control coincidences in your own life on the planet Earth, we will cooperate and determine those coincidences for you under the following conditions. 1. You must know/assume/simulate our existence in ECHO. 2. You must be willing to accept our responsibility for control of your coincidences. 3. You must exert your best capabilities for your survival programs and your own development as an advanced member of ECHO's Earthside Corps of controlled coincidence workers. You are expected to use your best intelligence in this service. 4. You are expected to expect the unexpected every minute, every hour of every day, and of every night. 5. You must be able to maintain conscious thinking/reasoning no matter what events we arrange to happen to you. Some of these events will seem cataclysmic, catastrophic, or overwhelming. Remember, stay aware no matter what happens/apparently happens to you. 6. You are in our training program for life. There is no escape from it. We, not you, control the long-term coincidences. You, not we, control the short-term coincidences by your own efforts. 7. Your major mission on Earth is to discover/create that which we do to control the long-term coincidence patterns. You are being trained on Earth to do this job. 8. When your mission on planet Earth is completed, you will no longer be required to remain/return there. 9. The last one. Remember the motto passed to us from GCC via SSCU. Cosmic love is absolutely ruthless and highly indifferent. It teaches its lessons whether you like/dislike them or not. That's an excerpt from John C. Lilly's book, The Didactic Cyclone.
Wouldn't it be trippy as fuck if this was just like an experiment ground though? Like we thought that what we conceived of as just of like normalcy and like that was they were just sending us motherfuckers down here to like, you know, act out.
See, to teach us something. I think we're here for a reason, dude. I think we are here to learn something or to do something. And I do think there is truth to what Sebby's saying of a cyclical nature, but I don't think it's cyclical for the sake of being cyclical. I think there isn't an insight once you learn or obtain or achieve what it is you're sent here to do. I was extremely suicidal when I was 21 years old. I've been suicidal multiple times at one serious attempt with it's another story, but there was a period of time where I was really about it, you know, and wanted shit to end. It was heavily addicted to lots of substances. I was 21 years old. Trafficking substances for the cartel. I was in a deep shit, man. I was deep shit. I was hitting nitrous for 8-9 hours a day at this point in time, spending a couple $100 a day on it. At one point, this disembodied voice I didn't hear it like an auditory hallucination, but the message was imparted unto me, brain, and it was like, Luke, you have done this thousands of times thus far. You always kill yourself at around this point in time. Don't do it this time. That's the only way to keep progressing on the mission. If you don't kill yourself, there's more that follows, but you've done it thousands of times whenever you get to this point. Don't do it. And I fucking went to rehab like a month later, and that experience is always fucking
I almost wonder. Sorry, go ahead, Sebby.
I think your caseworker was using voice to skull technology on you for that one.
Fuck yeah, dude.
The long range acoustic device weapons.
Yeah. No, but to be serious about that though, I think like I almost wonder though if you were in such a pit of despair that like your psyche fractured in a useful way where it was like, okay, if I tell him this, you will survive and we won't die and he won't kill us. And so
phenomenon, right? The second person thing when people are in life or death scenarios and their psyche fragments to have a protector role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
About a month before that happened, I stood up on my table and cocked a Beretta 40 with hollow points in it, put it in my mouth, and then my homie Art House, shout out Scarecrow 6, he fucking jumped on the table
Lil
and
Tracy
knocked me out and no, fuck Lil Tracy. Lil Tracy's not in our shit. We had our own thing going on. But he jumped on the table and like knocked me out and took the gun and like stole the clip, took the clip home with him. I woke up with just an empty gun, no clip, and my fingers all duct taped together. But yeah, I mean, I got some valid thoughts here about the long range acoustic device, Sebby, like the voice to skull shit. DARPA is on the record, like people talking about these long-range acoustic weapons, the voice of God laser or whatever, and they're like, what would the implications be if you're a jihadist? And then a disembodied voice says to you, "Hey, I am Allah. Go blow up your teammates right now.
Do not redeem.
Don't go kill those Americans.
Don't redeem virgin. Do not redeem your virgins yet." This is the CIA talking.
Yeah, literally.
Don't redeem your virgins yet.
Just more than 70.
That'd be a funny, dude. That'd be a funny like flip scheme of the call centers of like the CIA using voice to skull call centering the Taliban, and they're like, do not redeem your virgins.
Dude, that's a real thing where there's like on the record, it's not a conspiracy. There's
I know
evidence of DARPA talking about using that shit in the Iraq war for like against.
I don't know who you think you're talking to, motherfucker, but we've been knowing about the V2, the voice to skull. Yeah, I've been reading.
Never called that. That's cool as fuck.
The voice to
skull.
DARPA has some just Google DARPA if you're listening. Just go out and look at what DARPA's been up to. The creators of the internet, too, by the way. ARPANET was the first name for the internet. And
when you post this video, Zoot, in the title, one of the things needs to be like DARPA, as one of the previews for what we get into.
Okay.
Maybe get some people in. That'll be
Sounds good. So, do we have to touch on anything before we wrap it up here? We have a really juicy little episode here. This was really great, guys.
Y'all know what exploding head syndrome is? hypnagogic states. I had it for the first time the other night, dude. Scared the fuck out of me. Went
Exploding
into
head
full
syndrome.
like nervous system panic. I mean, dude, it was gnarly, Sebby.
Did they name that after
I had
JFK?
I had that a few weeks ago.
Almighty.
But
What was yours? What was yours like?
So it was a sleep paralysis state.
Oh, I've had this.
I had
It's terrifying.
constrained movement. Like I was like struggling with all my muscles to move. I was able to like maybe lift my head a little bit, but my exploding head sound was the sound of somebody barreling up my stairs. So
God.
in this state, I thought that there was a home invader and I was stuck in sleep paralysis and I couldn't fucking get out of it. So that just caused great panic. And eventually I was able to get myself out of the sleep paralysis state and, you know, go back and say, okay, that probably wasn't real. That was a very loud noise.
I didn't know there was a name for this. I've had this for sure. Where I've gone, I'm like sleeping, and all of a sudden, did you ever hear someone screaming, or did you ever hear have a thing where a person, you know, like someone in your family? I've had a like hypnagogic dream state where I'm sleeping, and all of a sudden I hear my dad go, "Josh," or like someone scream my name, and I go, "Oh," and I'm like, whoa, and like no one's there. Or I hear like a big bang noise that just wakes me up out of nowhere, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? No, there was nothing.
I'm right here in Midtown Atlanta. Like there's fucking construction like fuck on these high rise. They're building a big ass fucking high rise right over there. And they do hella construction in the middle of the night for some reason. I guess it's because it's cooler. I mean, it's kind of cooler anyways. It's November, but like they do hella construction in the middle of the night, probably because there's no traffic. That's probably what it is. And they're using the crane and shit. But I hear out, you know, on the street, and this is not hypnagogia. This was just like what it is. You hear beep, 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 like a big construction thing reversing or whatever. So I'm laying in bed and I'm like starting to fall asleep, and I'm hearing that beep, beep, beep. And it's off in the distance. And then all of a sudden, I'm sleeping on my left side, right in my right ear, as if someone had a megaphone of it. It just went boop, right in my fucking ear, deafeningly loud. And I wasn't even asleep yet. And I jolted up and my heart was pounding. And I was like, oh my Lanta.
I think it's just because you're like subliminally conditioned to those beeping. You ever get that like phantom phone vibrations because you're so used to your phone vibrating on your thigh that your sense, you know, your nerves are so used to that trigger that
deafening though, dude. It was right in my ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got, man. It's been a phenomenal episode.
Thanks for coming on, Sebby. I'm glad we were able to reschedule and get this one down on the books. This is a good one.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, I feel like I talked too much, bro. Sebby, I want to have you back.
I don't feel like I talked enough or explained some of my ideas as good as I should have. Which, you know, I'll if I ever appear on an episode again,
we'll have you back.
You know,
yeah, you will for sure.
It takes a little bit to get warmed up to this. It's not normal. But no, it sounded good. It was great. We had a good time.
Is there anything you want to explain or to say before we get off? Like any, you know, we don't have to jump off right in this moment. Like, take 5-10 minutes if you need. Is there anything else you want to?
Well, I guess what Zoot was talking about earlier about how disassociative could just serve as, you know, a primer for astral projection and using like theta binaurals or something. I've had experience with that where it's that one. I was on like a low dose DXM, maybe 300 milligrams, laying in bed with the headphones of theta, and it's just this one tone at first, but eventually you lay very still and calm, and this one tone oscillates and it branches off almost into music, and even though it's only one tone, your brain kind of turns it into a beat, and with that accompanies, you know, geometry and a sensation of motion. And it was almost like an auditory control of, you know, visual and physical stimulation. And I was able to, you know, travel by, you know, manipulating this, you know, symphony of semi-hallucinated noise.
which, I'd like to explain in more detail someday.
I always have been fascinated with
That's incredible.
the like auditory component of ketamine experiences.
Yeah.
Like that's like a very unique aspect of it compared to other drugs. And I don't know if it's just dissociative.
When I do ketamine, it's almost like there's a wind turbine or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or just like there's always one consistent background noise that's looping.
It's almost like you're hearing the hairs
like
vibrate on your eardrums or something. Like, all right, boys, this is a great one. We'll definitely have you on again, Sebby. Thank you. You're a real one for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll wrap this one up and catch you guys next time.